Hi everyone. Today I'd like to show you how to make sourdough crostini. Now if you're wondering why you would want to use sourdough to make this instead of regular bread, there's a lot of extra health benefits to sourdough that regular bread does not have. So first of all, sourdough helps stabilize blood sugar. And in the studies that they looked at this, they used white flour, not whole grain, so any sourdough will do this. And what they found was that not only did the sourdough help stabilize the blood sugar in the meal where you ate it, it also helps stabilize blood sugar for the following meal. So that's really good. They've also found that certain strains of good bacteria in the sourdough help your immune response. So again, this is people consuming sourdough, so the bacteria is actually dead at this point because it was put in the oven and baked. And what they found was that that's still the dead bacteria, and this is a new area of research, that dead bacteria helps you too, so that's good news. And you may or may not know this, but when you do sourdough, you are fermenting the grain, and as a result of that, it's breaking down the gluten. And while it's not, no sourdough bread is going to have all the gluten broken down, there's going to be a fair bit. So for most people, this will make it even more digestible, even if they're sensitive to wheat. A lot of people who are sensitive to wheat have no problem with sourdough, so it's worth trying if you are sensitive to wheat. And if you're not, it's just good for you, period. So what we're going to do here is we have two types of fat we're going to use for the crostini. So we've got some melted butter here, and we have some olive oil. And then we have sea salt and pepper, and I have some oregano here, but you can use any herb that you like for this. You could use savory thyme, rosemary, sage, basil, whatever you like, you can use. You could even make a sweet crostini and put cinnamon on this and sprinkle it with a little bit of sucanat or organic sugar or something like that. So it's very versatile. And there's many reasons to use this for different meals that you're having. So one of them that I really like is just to do these up ahead of time, put them in the freezer, and then I can use them when I'm eating hummus or other dips. It's a quick snack, it's ready. You can also use this in your soups. And what a really great idea is to use this as the base for an appetizer. So you could put cream cheese on there, or yogurt cream cheese, which would be even better. If you like smoked salmon, you can put that on, some dill. You could make up some guacamole and a little bit of salsa and put this on, and it makes a really nice treat for entertaining. And if you thought this is a little too big for, say, appetizers, maybe, this is perfect if you're serving the appetizers at a sit-down dinner. But if you think this is too big for when people are standing around and you're passing it around on a tray, you can always cut them in half and make them even smaller. So that's a really good idea too. Now, if you cannot find a baguette that's sourdough, because clearly I used a baguette here, this is what's left of the baguette, you can buy regular sourdough, and then you have two options. So one of the things you can do is you can just do what we're going to do with the crostini and then cut it into pieces loosely. If you don't mind the irregular size of the pieces, you can do that. Or if you want to get really fancy, you can get a cutter, like I have a little round cutter here, and you can cut out circles like this, or you could use stars. Now what you're going to have when you do that is a lot of waste, but what you can do, so you cut out your circles, and then we're going to treat that with either the olive oil, the butter, and the herbs and such. And then with the leftover stuff, you can throw it in at the oven at the same time, dry it out, and turn this into breadcrumbs. Or you can take the whole loaf, put the butter, olive oil, whatever else you're putting on it, sea salt, pepper, etc., bake it, and then cut it out. And then these could be chopped up into croutons or something like that. So there's a lot of things you can do so that you don't waste any bread. The goal here is to use sourdough. Okay, so what we have to do, this is a really simple process. You're going to need a tray. So I have a baking tray here, and I've lined it with parchment, and then I put a wire rack on it. Now you don't have to have the wire rack. If you do, and if you have smaller racks, you can put those on instead and just line them up. The only thing I find is that when these are lifted a bit up from the pan, they dry out faster. It's an easier process, and it just works better. But you can do it with just putting it straight on the parchment paper. I would always put it on parchment paper because we are brushing this with oil or butter, and that's going to make your pan mucky, and over time that will, make the pan look all blackened and whatever. It's probably going to do that anyway, but at least you can delay the process a bit if you protect it with the parchment paper. Okay, so we have a very simple process here, and I have two brushes. This is a silicone brush, really nice, very easy to wash. Doesn't give you quite the same amount of control that you have with a hair brush like this. This one has natural fibers in it. Over time, they loosen up and they tend to end up on your food. So I like this one for the control it gives me. I like this one for the way it cleans, and it's a lot more durable. All right, so this is a simple thing that we're going to do. You're just going to lightly, and I mean lightly, brush both sides of the bread. There's the butter over there. Put those over there. So you're just going to lightly brush these. You don't want a lot on here. It's just really for flavor. Okay, so that's the butter, and then you can do the same thing with the olive oil. Just lightly brush it. And you could melt coconut oil and do the same thing. Okay, so we've got 3 olive oil there, we've got 3 butter, and then you just take a little pinch of sea salt and you just sort of sprinkle it over. You don't want much. Take a little bit of pepper, throw it on, and then you take just a little pinch of the herb and you put that on as well. And then you place them on the tray. And you bake these on one side. Oh, at a thin side like this, you might take 5 to 7 minutes, 10 minutes tops. Depends on your oven. I've set my oven between 275 and 300. Sometimes I do it at 300, sometimes I do it at 275. Other times, again, if you have a thicker piece, it's going to take a little longer. And then once you've done it on one side for about 7 minutes, you're going to flip it over and do it on the other. And once they're done, you're going to take them out. And the reason I like using the sourdough, and I certainly have made crostini and croutons, and I often like to make like a slice of bread this way with my whole grain kamut. I love it for dipping in soups and things like that. But the reason I like the sourdough so much is that the texture's different. It actually is kind of chewy as opposed to hard and crunchy. And again, that's going to be all determined by how long you dry it out, but I find that this just dries differently, and I really like the texture better than I like regular bread. So that's how you make crostini, and as I said, you can mix and match your flavors, and it's very versatile for what you can use it for. It's certainly something I think you'll like, and you just choose the options that work best for you based on what you can find in your store. In terms of, if you can't find a baguette, you can use the whole bread and just cut it up and season it as you like. Okay, so we'll check back in a minute after, or sorry, in a few minutes after these have gone in the oven. Okay, so our crostini are done, and as you can see, they're little brown. Sourdough doesn't color the same way that regular bread does, but they are crunchy, so you can see, but they're still a little chewy in the middle here. So I really like that, and I think it tastes nicer. It has a better texture. It's pretty straightforward. This took a total of maybe 14 minutes, not quite. If you want to make them thicker, it will take a little longer, and you might want to do that because for whatever purpose you're using them, it just works out better if you are making it thicker. I like this size for using in hummus and dipping in soups and using for appetizers. This is our little circle one that we cut out, and again, it's very cute. You could just top some cream cheese on there or some whatever, and it would just be lovely as an appetizer. And these are our little teeny pieces. They're also very nice as well, that we just cut in half from this size. So as you can see, you can do pretty much anything you want with this. All right, so that's how you make sourdough crostini.